So today we have a cool little city in my home state of Michigan that we'll be talking about, right, Greg?
Thanks, Abhi. As always, awesome to be here. And I have a really interesting pick for you today, Grand Rapids, Michigan. This has come up 3 times recently with strategy profiles on OwnAmerica.com and questions that we've gotten. A strategy profile when you open an account on our website, which is a marketplace and a research facility for single-family real estate investors, is we ask you to tell us a little bit about your plan, and most people do. And what you get is an indication of where people are thinking about investing as they're doing their research. And Grand Rapids has been coming up. It came up 3 times in the last few days, and that always is a signal to me that the universe is inquiring and conspiring in a certain direction. So I happen to like Grand Rapids. Back when I was a New Yorker, I'm a recovering New Yorker. I'm a Southerner now. I know you can tell from my accent. We did a gig on the Fox Business Network. I was a regular there, and we had a segment called Where to Invest Now, and it was on in 2012. I lost that gig when I left New York, and it was worth it because I live in the South now, and it's good for me. But it's a cool look back because Grand Rapids jumped out at me back then for reasons having to do with it being misunderstood and having fundamentals that people were missing. All right. Grand Rapids is on the western side of Michigan. Michigan is a phenomenal state. And too often, Detroit has gotten a bad rap. We've talked about Detroit, and maybe it deserved it. Okay, it was a pretty precipitous decline that it went through. We've talked about it here, that it's really on the recovery now, and it's got a really, really bright future. But back in 2012, that had not yet happened. And Grand Rapids being in Michigan, people think Michigan, they think Detroit, and they were kind of writing it off. But Grand Rapids is really more a suburb or in the sphere of Chicago than it is, because it's on the lake on the western side of the state. Look at a map, you'll see what I mean. But there were fundamentals that I thought were really powerful, and I talked about them on Fox, and I want to play you that clip right now because if someone doesn't brag about my predictions being right, who else is going to do it, if not me? So check this out.
You like Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Right, I do.
No, yeah. But this isn't Detroit. This is Western Michigan.
Well, that's part of the reason, right? Is that people, when you hear Detroit, when you hear Michigan, you think Detroit.
Right.
And unfortunately, when you hear Detroit, you think broken down factories and graffiti. And this is the western part of the state, okay? They are not as dependent. They're not really dependent on manufacturing in the first place. Grand Rapids is the leading city in Michigan for private sector jobs, okay? Privately held company job growth. Unemployment's down to 6.9%. And it also is a state, you wouldn't believe, more coastline in Michigan than California and Florida. Mm-hmm. And so quality of life is good. Home prices are way down to 2000 levels right now, which means you can buy a house, rent it out for a profit, and then as Western Michigan appreciates again over the next 10 years, you ride that up and see a good return.
All right, so now what happened since 2012 in Grand Rapids? Well, the median price in Grand Rapids at the trough back in 2012 was $112,000 and change. All right, if you look at the chart on OwnAmerica.com that shows the 20-year price appreciation, you see it take off from that point, and it's had a 6-year run where the median price has gone from 112 to 164. Okay, now that's a very, very big jump. You look at the chart, and what you see is that it was gliding along from 1996 to about 2006 at a nice gradual upward trajectory, which is what it's supposed to do. Then it took a little bit of a hit in 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then in 12, it was sitting down there at the bottom. And don't forget, back in 12, there was a lot of people who were like, oh, the housing market is over, or a housing meltdown, generational meltdown, free fall, right? Nonsense. I wrote my book, Crash Boom, back in 2010 to remind people of what happens in the housing market after any kind of a crash. That was really the only crash we've had in the last 80 years where home prices went down, but they really were a correction. It was very predictable that the market would come back, and some markets would come back more strongly than others, and Grand Rapids was one of them. So Grand Rapids was a great call in 2012. So the question is it a great call now? And so this is the kind of research you can do that can give you a feel for what's happening in the market to let you know that, hey, should I invest there? Okay, one of the things I'll tell you about Grand Rapids is that the yields are high because the prices aren't high. All right. Yields being the profit you make based upon your rent compared to your value, essentially, of what you paid. And you can get 7, 8% plus in current yield in Grand Rapids, Michigan, meaning you're plunking $100,000 down to buy a house and you're making $8,000 a year in profit just on the rent profit, right? It's unbelievable. 8% yield. Now, what are you going to get in terms of appreciation? The appreciation average has been only 2.7%, which is less than the 3.5% average, but it's been catching up. It's been a lot steeper than that in the last 5 years. So anybody who listened to me 5 years ago really won. The question is, what's going to happen now? Has the ride ended? And I want to read you. I did a search. This is a fun search to do about any market that you think you might be interested in anywhere in the country. Search Google with this term, announces blank expansion. So announces Grand Rapids expansion. Or if I was interested in searching, Albuquerque, New Mexico, announces Albuquerque expansion. What that's going to do is pick up any stories that have been written about any company, any hospital, any university that has announced an expansion in that market. So announces Grand Rapids expansion. Here are the results today on announces. Let me just read you the headlines. $2.7 million expansion adds 115 jobs in Grand Rapids tech company. GR manufacturer, Grand Rapids manufacturer, to add 39 jobs in $9 million expansion. The Right Place finalizes aerospace expansion in Grand Rapids. Grand Rapids tech company announces expansion. That's the same one as the first one, I think. Switch plans major expansion in Grand Rapids campus. 4.3 million expansion, 50 new jobs by Michigan tag maker. Not exactly Tesla, right? A tag maker. Love that. Helix Steel proudly announces the expansion of manufacturing. All right, Dr. Brad Bengston announces a practice move and expansion in Grand Rapids. It goes all the way down the page. Now, what I said on Fox, which is still true, is that Grand Rapids was leading the state and was ranking very high in the country on small business expansion. Okay, so they were never really dependent on like a big company coming in and opening a factory and putting $1 billion or so in. I could give you examples, but I'm short on time. When you have small businesses expanding 50 jobs, 30 jobs, 100 jobs, a $2 million, $10 million, $15 million expansion, what you've got is real resilience in the economy in that market. Okay, and you've got a lot of people, for their own reasons, making decisions to expand their business, to locate their business, like the doctor, or to expand their business in that market. Individuals putting their own money at risk, putting their own skin in the game to expand a market. They're doing it in unison. All the announcements I just read to you were all 2018 or late 2017. So when the question is, well, if I missed the ride, right? Did I miss the ride? The last 6 years in Grand Rapids was awesome, and is it over? Well, no, because we've only gotten back to the long-term trend line in terms of price appreciation. So might it level off a little bit? It might, okay? But what you're seeing is the fundamentals of entrepreneurs making a decision to invest their capital, to expand their businesses and to hire people, and doing it in large numbers like this is probably my favorite harbinger of really, really positive things to come, because there are reasons for all of that. They like it there. The quality of life is great. The cost of living is reasonable. They've apparently gotten over the freezing winters and they're okay with it, right? Population trends, people trends. Why do they go there? Are they going to stay? Is that going to continue? And are they going to invest in the market? If they are, then we think you should also.